Hey everybody, it's Radishhead and I am here today with another video which I think a lot of people watching will find very useful. It's something that I see asked in the Discord and on Reddit quite a lot, where you got a new player and they don't know exactly how to start off, because obviously you don't start off with much UPIX and that can go very quickly. So it's a natural question. What do you want to do in order to maximize your returns on your initial UPIX? Try to get to Uplander status as quickly as you can. So as of right now, what date is it? It's mid-October. Let me show you what I would be doing if I was a new player in Upland. So, early game in Upland is all about flipping. Now obviously you can't flip your properties, you can't sell them on the market until you get Uplander status. When you first join the game, you're a visitor and you need to hit 10,000 net worth in order to be an Uplander. So this number here needs to say 10,000. You'll start off with about 6,000-ish, I think, if you join the game through a one of those links that gives you a bit of extra cash to start with, like a promotion link or something. Would recommend. Now, what you need to do is you need to pick a city to start out with that has plenty of cheap properties and plenty of FSA properties. FSA stands for the Fair Start Act, and it basically designates a certain number of properties in each region that can only be purchased by players of a net worth of less than 100,000. And that usually means that those FSA properties are cheaper because there's a smaller number of players who are able to buy them, and they're usually below the floor price of a city. So keep an eye out for any property that's labelled FSA, and I'll show you them in 1 second. So basically any of the newer cities that have come into the game, I would say, are quite suitable for a new player, as long as there's lots of unminted properties. If I just zoom in here a second, I'm in Kansas City right now, and I spotted here in the Lichens district. If I just zoom in, look at this once it loads. Look at all these. If you see grey properties, that's good. That means that they haven't been minted by another player, they are unowned. So what you need to do is send your block explorer over to one of these properties nearby, and that would allow you to mint these. So if I wanted to mint this property here where my mouse cursor is floating around, I'd click on this person's property next to it, and I'd say send, and then it would say, do you want to send your explorer? So you pay a little bit of UPIX, and then your explorer like ends up here. So then you can these properties will go from grey to green. That means you can mint them. You always want to be minting properties as a new player instead of buying existing properties, because that means that you're not paying any additional markup or anything. You're getting the cheapest price. So you got your city, and you're looking out for FSA properties. The next step is to get some of these collection bonuses ready. So if you click on this little menu at the bottom here, you click collections. Now this is kind of like Monopoly, and there are certain properties that if you fulfill the criteria, then you get money. So for example, on the screen just here, this is Hyde Park in Chicago, and it's basically saying if you get 3 properties in Hyde Park, all of your properties that you slot into these 3 slots will get a 1.78 times multiplier on their earnings, which is nice. But more importantly, for a new player, it would also give you a instant 2,800 UPIX reward. So that is super nice. Now, as a brand new player, you are not going to be buying 3 properties in Hyde Park in Chicago. I'll tell you that right now. What you are instead should be aiming to do, first of all, is minting 3 properties on the same street. 3 cheap, the cheapest you can find. and that would allow you to complete 3 collections. In fact, you would own 3 properties in whatever city you start in. It doesn't have to be in Chicago. It's showing that because that's where I'm currently at. But if you're in Kansas City, for example, and you minted 3 on the same street, you could plop them in here, and you would get the Kansas City collection, which would give you a small amount of UPIX. You could also slot a property into this newbie slot here, so that's another collection bonus. And as well as that, as long as your 3 properties are on the same street, and it's very important that you click on the properties and check they have the same street address, you can also fill in this King of the Street collection. So that will give you a decent amount of UPIX as well. Now, the idea is that if you've been minting 3 cheap properties on the same street, that should give you enough collection bonuses from those 3 collections to move to the next step, which is about minting 2 more cheap properties in the same city. Doesn't need to be the same street, it's got to be the same city. So look around Kansas City, see what the cheapest options are for minting. And once you get that, you'll be able to fill out this City Pro collection, own 5 properties in the same city. Now that will give you a decent amount of extra UPIX if you're able to fill that out. So that's kind of exactly where you want to be to start off. You want 3 FSA cheapies on the same street, then 2 more in the same city, and that should allow you to fill out enough collections to pretty much get to Uplander. So just for example, if I just scroll along here, I bet these FSAs here aren't too expensive. Look at that, 2,800. That's on Bellefontaine Avenue. I bet if you could find 2 more FSAs on Bellefontaine Avenue, that would be a great place to start. I mean, that one's 4,000. That's not too bad. But just have a scroll around the city, see what you can find. As you can see on my screen, there are tons of FSAs in Kansas City. So that's what I'd recommend right now for a new player. If you are just a little bit off, if you have like maybe 9,000 net worth after following all that, obviously you can be patient and wait a few weeks. You might gain enough in your collections and the income you get from your properties in order to progress to Uplander. Or what I would say is have a look at the Upland Discord. It's super friendly, and where is it? Here we go, Upland. If you go onto this Discord server here, if you go onto new players, this is a great place to go where new players can say, hey, I'm pretty close to getting Uplander status. Can somebody visit my properties and help me sort of get the rest of the way? And the common etiquette there is to maximize your send fee. So if you click on your property, you'll be able to basically determine how much it costs for somebody to land on your property. Just max it out and then ask people to come visit you, and hopefully they will. And that should push you to Uplander. Once you're Uplander, the game gets a lot more fun. It gets a lot simpler because you can actually start selling your freshly minted properties then, hopefully for a small profit. And what I'd suggest you do once you start flipping your properties is to just hold on to the cash and jump in on the next city release. And as of the time of recording, that would be Nashville. And I'd recommend doing that because there'll be lots and lots of really good opportunities for new players in Nashville. There will be FSA properties in really highly desirable areas that are very likely to be collection. And if you can grab one of those when the city launches, don't forget, most players won't be able to buy those properties because they'll be FSA. So if you can get in and grab one of those, suddenly you might be able to sell that property for 50, 60,000 UPICs. It can happen. Even more. There are FSA properties in extremely desirable locations. So if you do your research for Nashville and you head on over there with a decent amount of UPICs, yeah, you can take off in a very short amount of time in Upland, which I think is really cool. I guess the only last thing to mention, if you use my referral link, which I've put in the description, you get an extra 50% UPICs on your first purchase. So if you purchase, 10,000 just to get you started to Uplander, you'll get an extra 5,000 for free, which is pretty cool as well. But yeah, that's sort of my guide for today. I hope you found that useful, and if you have any other questions, just let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. But until next time, see you.